Live from CNN Center, this is CNN Newsroom with Linda Kincaid.
A new deadline and a new legal ruling in the latest indictment of Donald Trump. The federal judge overseeing Trump's election fraud case has responded to a court filing from special counsel Jack Smith last night. Smith wants a protective order after Trump posted this, quote, "If you go after me, I'm coming after you." Smith wants the judge to stop Trump and his legal team from publicly discussing sensitive evidence. And the judge has now given the Trump team until 5 p.m. Monday to respond. Well, despite all these legal battles, the former president is slamming the special counsel at campaign rallies, most recently in the early primary state of South Carolina.
And by the way, virtually every poll, we're kicking Biden's ass. And that's the problem. That's the problem. And if I wasn't, it wouldn't be under investigation by deranged Jack Smith. He's a deranged human being. You take a look at that face, you say, that guy is a sick man. There's something wrong with him.
CNN's Alana Treen was at that South Carolina event and filed this report.
The former president spent much of his Saturday night speech railing against the recent charges that he faces, as well as attacking special counsel Jack Smith directly. Donald Trump called him, quote, mentally ill as well as deranged. Now, the former president also made an appeal to Republican lawmakers on Capitol Hill. He argued that they needed to step up and do something in order to help defend him against his recent legal batters. But one big thing that I find to be different from his speech on Saturday is it came less than 24 hours after Jack Smith wrote in a court filing asking the judge to set limits on what Trump's team can do with the evidence shared in the election subversion case. Now, the judge ultimately ruled on Saturday that Donald Trump's team must respond to that proposal by Monday afternoon. But there were a lot of questions going into Saturday night, whether Donald Trump's team would encourage him to change his rhetoric in light of that court filing, but clearly he did not. Alana Treen, CNN, Columbia, South Carolina.
Well, as we mentioned, Trump's attorneys have until 5 p.m. Monday to respond to the special counsel's request for strict controls over sensitive evidence into the election meddling case. Earlier, CNN spoke with former Trump White House lawyer James Schultz about why prosecutors felt compelled to make this filing.
He opened up the door for this type of motion by Jack Smith with that comment. And it's no surprise that they made that motion and that the judge is going to take it seriously and going to hear it right away. But she's going to be very thoughtful about this. She's going to have to balance the former president's First Amendment right to political speech against the need to protect that sensitive information and perhaps grand jury information, witness lists, witness testimony, witness interviews. Those kinds of things are certainly going to be protected because the judge is going to take seriously the need to protect the witnesses from threats, intimidation, and those types of things that could be incited from that speech. But she's going to have to strike that balance, and I think she'll be thoughtful. It's something the Trump legal team is going to have to deal with throughout this campaign, because there are going to be limitations on what the former president can say as it relates to this case and information he actually receives from this case and how he can use it publicly. So yes, it opened up the door and certainly gave the prosecution ability to justifiably go to court on it.
Well, Trump is also taking aim at his former Vice President Mike Pence, unleashing his most blistering attack yet. Pence, who is also seeking the White House, has repeatedly criticized Trump over the January 6th insurrection, though he says he's not convinced Trump's actions were criminal. But as we've seen, Trump does not take well to any criticism. In a social media post Saturday, Trump lashed out in some of his sharpest language yet, referring to little Mike Pence, calling him delusional and not a very good person. Well, another of Trump's many Republican rivals for the presidential nomination wrapped up his second day in Iowa. On Saturday, Ron DeSantis attended the Attorney General's Big Barn Bash, mingling with Iowans, eating fried chicken, and making his pitch to voters.
A leader has to put the jobs of the people he represents ahead of protecting his own political hide. That is what it doesn't matter what the politics is. The time for excuses for Republicans is over. We must get the job done now. With God's help, I will get the job done. I promise you this, I won't let you down.
Well, 538's poll of polls shows that DeSantis is trailing by Trump by nearly 40 points nationally. But a recent New York Times Siena College poll of Iowa voters shows Trump's support below the national average, while support for DeSantis is slightly higher.